Hello, good evening. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo-Baka. To our very first story, figures from the Bank of Ghana has revealed that non-performing loans in the Ghana's banking sector have surged to 20% of all loans, hitting a peak not witnessed in half a decade. Since October 2022, this ratio has been on a steady climb, starting at 14% and ascending by a remarkable 6 percentage points to its current level. There is more for you in this Business Desk report.
According to the data from the Bank of Ghana, the ratio increased by 0.9 percentage points from the previous ratio of 19.1% in July 2023, showing that 1 out of every 5 loans given is issued is not being paid back or is long overdue for interest or principal payment as of August 2023. On average, between January and August 2023, the ratio has been around 17.9%, which is higher than the average for the same period in 2020, 2021, and 2022. As per the International Monetary Fund, global standards recommend categorizing loans as non-performing when borrowers are more than 90 days late in paying back both the principal amount and interest, or when there is little expectation of receiving full payments in the future. The country recently went through a debt restructuring where government indicated an inability to repay its loans and sought to shave off part of its debts in order to secure a $3 billion loan from the IMF, of which banks took a larger part of the haircut, leading to significant losses in 2022.
Meanwhile, banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene blames government and the unfriendly economic environment for the surge in non-performing loans. According to him, until the economy improves, banks will continue to bear the brunt.
It comes as no surprise to some of us because the economic condition has been very, very harsh to businesses. Higher interest rates, higher inflation, rising prices in energy, higher interest costs, and all these things have dovetailed into the NPL. It makes it very difficult for the banks. And the second point, which a lot of people are not taking into consideration, government is the largest employer of businesses in Ghana. And if you hear about the contractors who have not been paid, if you heard of the food suppliers who have not been paid, if you heard about the vendors that have not been paid over the period, all these things dovetail into higher non-performance. So apart from the government being the part of the problem, the unfriendly economic environment is also part of the issue. We've had it before. I mean, in the 80s, we had this challenge. But when the economic condition improved, I mean, if you go and check, I think, 2006 rate, we had the lowest non-performing, I think, 6%. Because the economic condition was okay, inflation was okay, interest rate was down. But as we see now, interest rate is not going to get down. Because the way government is borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, it makes it very difficult for the bank to get cheap money. What we call crowding out. The treasury bills that the government is crowding out the bank of deposit utilization. And therefore, that cost will have to come into play when you're lending into money. And that will lead, there is a correlation between that leads into higher non-performing loans. So I'm not worried because I'm not deterred because we saw it some time ago and it's now coming back. I mean, next quarter it will possibly go to 24.
The Minerals Income Investment Fund is partnering government to develop a database for some 22 critical minerals across the country. This is part of moves to profile the nation's resources in order to attract foreign direct investments. Now, the chief executive of the fund, Nana Krantin, made the disclosure when he addressed stakeholders in Accra.
Stakeholders Forum by the Mineral Income and Investment Fund afforded industry players the opportunity to share ideas on the operations of the fund and also be updated on some projects it is undertaking. According to the chief executive, Nana Krantin, Ghana's mineral resources need more investment in order for the country to generate funds for infrastructure development. He believes that a good database for all the 22 critical minerals will go a long way to improve its investment potentials.
Critical minerals like lithium have become extremely important and they become of security and strategic interest for every country in the world. At this point in time, the United States have designated about 22 critical minerals as extremely essential for the next maybe 20 to 30 years. So we are looking at how we can assist the Geological Survey Department, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in developing a database around these 22 critical minerals, and not just the precious minerals like gold, etc. This is purely on the critical minerals. We think this is important. It allows us to have some kind of overview of what is underneath and the kind of potential that Ghana has. It allows us to also develop investment plans on how we deal with some of these critical minerals. So it is important. It's extremely essential that we do that, and that we have this data bank of resources, and that is owned by Ghanaians.
Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mrekuduka, used the platform to charge the MIIF to ensure more local participation in the sector.
Let me use this opportunity to task MIF and MINCOM. I'm sure they are here. If they are not here, I will carry it myself to them. I thought I was going to see the Chief Executive Officer here to immediately develop a framework with the University of Mines and Technology to design and beef up existing curricula on extraction, processing, and entire governance of the various critical minerals identified towards the energy transition. Specifically, MIF and MINCOM should take deliberate steps to provide scholarships to technical staff and some students towards that study.
The MIIF has therefore hinted of plans to engage more stakeholders on the review of its act.
Let's do something in the agric value chain, because cocoa farmers or stakeholders are bemoaning the improper use of pesticides by farmers, indicating it can affect the sector if not addressed swiftly. According to these players, more sensitization programs are needed to educate farmers on the application of pesticides. Chairman for the Ghana Biodiversity Steering Committee, Professor Alfred Oteng-Yeboah, says the continuous use of some of these chemicals on cocoa farms may pose some environmental and health-related threats to the farmers. He spoke to Joy Business at a multi-stakeholder pesticides conference.
The cocoa sector is of an economic importance to Ghana as it contributes significant export earnings to the country's economy. It is estimated that disease and pest incidents account for output losses of about 35%. At a multi-stakeholder conference, Professor Yeboah explained the need for these farmers to be educated.
The concept of pesticide use is something which a lot of people have bought into it, thinking that that is the only way in which we'll be able to get a proper cocoa production. But one thing that we haven't noted is that from a biological system, you can also have another biological system that will overcome the issues that are there. And for that reason, it is possible to control many of the pests that we have in the country. Now, pesticides as they are actually have a root from chemicals. And chemicals, especially when they do not come from the environment, they take a long time before you can actually get rid of them. Initially, you may see them doing the work that you want them to do, but then the residue, after they have been used, is where the difficulty is. How do you get rid of the residue?
Project Officer for SEND Ghana, Nana Kwesi Banenaka, indicated that sustainability within the value chain is key to the growth of this sector.
We need to discuss the welfare and sustainability of the cocoa sector, and we cannot do that without looking at good agricultural practices. And under those good agricultural practices has the use of agrochemicals, which pesticides happens to be part. We know that agrochemical usage is good, but if unregulated, it has problem on the health and also the environment at large. Also, when you look at the usage of pesticides, we need to look at the storage, application, and also training of cocoa farmers on the usage of pesticides.
Representing the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Director of Research and Statistics at the Ministry, Cephas Ej Mensah pledged the commitment of Earth Outfit in sensitizing these farmers.
The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation exists to promote sustainable development by deepening and strengthening demand-driven research and development for sound environmental governance, science, technology and innovation through intensive awareness creation, collaboration and partnership. MESI envisages to attain sustainable development through the utilization of science, technology and innovation for wealth creation and sound environmental governance in a modern and competitive economy.
The stakeholders maintain that they will continue to raise awareness about the harmful effects of the application of highly hazardous pesticides within the agricultural production landscape.
More in the agri sector, poultry farmers in the country are in anticipation of a successful implementation of the government's revitalization project in the poultry sector following recent near collapse of the industry. Under the Rearing for Food and Jobs program, the government established the broiler project to reduce importation of chicken and create jobs. But National Chairman of the Poultry Association of Ghana, Victor Opong-Ejei, says government must commit to the actualization of the project objectives to salvage the struggling poultry industry. Here's more.
According to data by the Animal Protection Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ghana imports about 180,000 million tons of poultry meat, with local production averaging 57,000 million tons. Broiler meat constitutes over 80% of the total imported meat into the country. After realizing the potential of reducing meat imports through local production of broiler, the government instituted the Broiler Project in 2020, targeting 40,000 million tons of broiler meat production on a pilot basis. Victor Opong-Ejei is the chairman of the National Poultry Farmers Association.
And it's not only the poultry farmers who are going to benefit, it's the whole economy. Because, as I said, 85% of the farms were collapsed. It means all the workers, they have to go home, and it will affect their family, and so poultry alone, if we give it much attention, I think poultry alone can create over 1 million jobs in the country.
There have been calls by stakeholders in the poultry industry on the government to place a ban on imported chicken as a ding to control the influx of foreign meat. But the Ministry of Food and Agriculture believes an outright ban of the commodity could affect the country's food security. Head of the Animal Production Unit at the Ministry, Ricky Abuaji, says regulation of imports is essential to allow free intercontinental trade.
We also believe that, yes, as part of food security, we should have some buffers. Then we empower our indigenous or our local farmers also to go into massive production. Then we can regulate, because we are not living in isolation as a country. Even if we produce and we get to the excess point, we also want to export. So if you don't want anybody to bring in their produce, when you get the excess, where do you also take them to? So as part of intercontinental, inter-regional trade, we encourage that, yes, we can regulate the inflows, but we can only do that when we are also upscale within the local settings, so that at least we'll make maximum use of what we have here.
Mr. Abuaji was speaking at a 2-day workshop for poultry farmers in the Ashanti region on farm management practices. The event targeted at building the capacity of poultry farmers and expanding their knowledge base on the best practices for efficient production. Dr. Victoria Nobre is president of the Women in Poultry Value Chain.
We believe that if you have all the resources, the maize, the soya, the deochis, and all that we need to produce, if you have all those resources and you don't have good management practices, your farm cannot still survive. You might have outbreak of diseases which will be causing high mortality. You have management problems of keeping records. So this comes together to add to all the resources that we need to revamp the poultry sector.
The workshop was in partnership with the World Institute for Soil and Human Health with support from the American Soybean Association. Khalid Bernardelilo is positive of an improved sector through the training.
I'm very happy to see the turnout, the number of people who are interested in improving their efficiency and their economic returns. On another hand, we will make several take-home messages. One of them was, please do not eat raw eggs, because raw eggs can be a source of different microbial risks. On another hand, today we will also focus on biosecurity, which means improving the hygiene in the farms, improving the overall, inputs of what we get on the farms, good raw ingredients, healthily enhanced to produce more efficiently.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Some farmers in the northern region are calling on the regulatory authority to issue permit for the commercialization of the BT cowpea. According to the farmers, with the trials they have conducted, there is huge difference in yield and insect control between the BT and the conventional cowpea. They are therefore asking government to quicken the process.
Cowpea is widely consumed by many Ghanaians. It is used for dishes ranging from garri and beans to tubani in northern Ghana. But over the years, farmers have faced challenges of the maruca pest when it is time for farming. This forces farmers to spray their farms up to 12 times before harvest. This does not only affect the farmer, but also the consumer because of the dose of chemicals applied. It is against this backdrop that the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has conducted a research to produce the BT cowpea to tackle the maruca pest challenge. Speaking at Nyankpala on one of the trial fields, some farmers called on government to commercialize the new variety.
The cost of the chemical. So as a farmer, it seems it was a lot of problems for us. And we couldn't even get, at the end, you won't even get good yield from the field. When we're doing it, if you do 1 acre, with the local one, quarter, you won't even get $5 because of the maruca. You spray a lot, you spray more than 8 times, 10 times because of the insects you couldn't even get. But now, this one, the scientific one, is very, very nice. Because when they brought it, if you farm and then you spray twice, you harvest a lot. You get good yields from it because it doesn't affect the maruca. That one, the actual. Theirs is very, very different.
Pioneer of the research in BT cowpea, Dr. Mumni Abdullahi said, not only will the BT cowpea save the environment, but also the farmer.
With a non-BT cowpea, can spray up to 12 times, sometimes. The minimum they spray is 5 times. And you know the cost of the chemical, and most of the farmers even spray without protecting themselves. The chemical, they inhale it, it's dangerous. And even the consumer, because they dose the crop with chemicals, and usually when you spray, there's a time interval within which you should not consume the product because the dose is too much chemical. But farmers, you and I will go to the market and buy. You don't ask when did they harvest, when did they spray. You don't ask. So it's actually, it saves a lot when you have only 2 sprays compared to 12 sprays.
The Deputy Director General of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Professor Marian Dorcas-Quinn, said she was excited about the outcome of the research, but added that she wished Ghana had hastened the process.
I'm impressed with the progress so far, but the process has been very, very slow. And this is what I wished it had happened faster. Because as you know, biotechnology, getting a transgenic crop is not an overnight process. Now, once you have had it, there are so many processes you have to go through before you can regularize it. And these are based on our laws and regulations. So I would really appreciate if these are hastened to ensure that once we have come out with a quality material, it will quickly be in the hands of the end user for them to benefit fully from the technologies that we are churning out.
Thanks so much for watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got international business for you, after which Prime Sports follows.